in any business, whether it be online, physical, brick and mortar, digital, okay? Any business, the key to actually succeeding and separating yourself as a key differentiator from your competitors is building a strong edge. Think of it like an arrowhead shooting through the sky. The sharper the edge, the more damage it's going to do, and the higher chance of whatever the goal is, success. Okay? So in this video, we're going to break down how to develop and identify your own edges in the ecom space, and these lessons can be carried out into any online digital business. So, as you can see, I'm the whiteboard guy. I like to write things down physically. So in this video, we're going to break it down on the whiteboard on my desk about how to build an edge, how to separate yourselves from competitors, and essentially how to set yourself up for the highest chance of success. Because building an edge is a key, fundamental, important component to any business. So let's get straight into it. So let's play out a hypothetical situation, okay? Let's say we've got two identical ecom bros, both with the goal of $1 million revenue, okay? We've got ecom bro A. We've got ecom bro B. Let's say their skill set and knowledge is the exact same. However, ecom bro B has been watching ecom videos, ecom reels. So he knows a tiny bit. He knows enough to convince someone that he knows what he's talking about. So he's been watching ecom videos. He's thinking constantly about ecom, right? He hasn't tried it yet. Neither ecom bro A or B have tried it yet. However, ecom bro A. He likes golf. He works at a golf course currently for cash flow. So again, fundamentally the same ecom bro. They're a clone of each other to some degree. Both have not started yet, and this is a key important component. Both have not started yet. One actively watches ecom videos. The other builds up cash working at a golf course, and his passion is golf. Okay? So how are both of them going to get to $1 million? I'll tell you what ecom B is going to do. Ecom bro B, right? He's going to see all these videos about evergreen markets. Pets, kid stuff, home stuff. You can do an infinite amount of Googling. There's heaps of evergreen niches, right? He's going to go into an evergreen niche, okay? You'd think that increases his chances of success, when in reality, while an evergreen niche is easier to get to and stay in and grow, there's a lot more competition, okay? And that's a little bit harder when you're starting out. Let's go back to ecom bro A, okay? Ecom bro A loves golf, loves working at the golf course, but he wants to get into ecom. He wants to make his first $1 million. Straight away, this is an edge. This is a massive edge over the ecom bro B, because his edge is that he knows golf really, really well. So he can find a golf-related product and push that heavily because he understands the target demographic. If he was to go into an evergreen niche like pets, right, it might be easier for him. However, there's so much more competition. If both A and B ecom bros are going to do pets, they're fighting against each other. What percentage of ecom bros actually fully understand golf? Very few, okay? Now, while you can argue, you can Google on AI and figure out certain things about the golf industry. Unless you actually play golf and know and use different tools and clubs and all of that in the golf space, you're not going to ever be as knowledgeable. So, ecom bro A has such an advantage because he understands golf. Now, golf is a high ticket industry, which means you can sell products for a lot higher. His margin could be a lot bigger. He's going to find it drastically easier to grow his ecom business than ecom bro B, who's trying to go into the pet space, because he doesn't have the competitive edge. The golf is ecom bro A's edge, right? And now when I talk about edges are across every industry. And there's two types of edges, right? If we go over here, you've got sharp edges, like an arrowhead, right? That's the type of edge you want, like an arrowhead. Whereas B, fragile edges will break. If you put any pressure on each corner of the edge, it will break, unfortunately. Now, what are some fragile edges? Fragile edges is time, money, and focus. Fragile edges are edges that you cannot really compete on, because if your edge is time, money, or focus, there's a guy out there who has more money than you who can burn and test. If your edge is time, there's some guy who's willing to not sleep to make this a reality. And focus, there's always going to be people who are more focused than you. These are fragile edges that you cannot compete on at the start. You need sharp edges, such as golf, right? That's your hobby. Any passion or hobby or anything that you're super knowledgeable about will help you develop strong, sharp edges. Now, as your ecom business grows, right, you want more edges. Let's say you start with 3. Then you want to add another 3. You've got 6. Then you keep going and adding all these edges that your competitors cannot keep up with. And now at the end of the day, they will be able to compete at some point. However, at the very start of your journey, it makes it so much easier if you have these unique edges, because it allows you to actually understand the product you're selling. Now, let me give you an example of a product that I've been selling. Obviously, I can't tell you the product, but let me give you a little history, okay? When I was 18, I lived in the UK. I lived in London. I moved there to build out a career. And why did I do that? That is because I wanted to build a stronger CV or resume, right? I was just out of high school and I wanted to essentially differentiate myself from people who are going to uni who had a piece of paper. Okay? We are fundamentally the exact same. When we both apply for a job, we are genuinely the same. The only difference is that tiny piece of text that says I worked in London. And instantly that separates me from thousands of people who are applying for the same job. So I've always used this edge ideology. Okay? You really, really need to find an edge. And it's not that hard, because at the end of the day, you're unique. Everyone has unique components to them. Okay, so how did I build an edge for this specific product that's made me $50,000 so far? When I was in the UK, I worked for a company. I'm not going to say the company or the product, but essentially the company sold a variety of products. And one product was kind of their hero product. Then, a few years later, in my agency, we sat down with one of the biggest and most expensive hotel builds / owners / groups in Australia. And I had to interview them as part of the agency project we were working on. So I was talking to the owner and they kept flexing a certain material. Now, when I say flexing, they spoke about this material heavily. Like this was a key unique point of this hotel. So both these components, they just sat in the back of my mind. I never really thought about them. However, I was scrolling through on AliExpress and I found a product that married these two edges into one singular product. The product plus the material. Okay? Now, because of my edge, because of this knowledge, right? I knew that this product had a higher chance of selling, because this product sold really well from the UK company, and then this material is a very unique, well-known material. So this gave me an instant edge. Well, you can argue that other people could have seen the same product and made the same decision to try and sell it. I had unique prior knowledge and experience around this product that it made it a lot easier for me to sell. And I knew exactly what potential customers needed to hear or know about the specific product to push the conversion rate higher. So that gave me this unique edge. Now, let's figure out how to develop your own edge, right? Let's say your name is Johnny, okay? What are some attributes about yourself that are unique compared to others? Let's say Johnny likes to swim. Okay, he's a competitive swimmer. What else does he like? He likes tennis. He's a very active person. Tennis, and he likes gym. Okay? Once you write your list of unique attributes about yourself, whether that be your passions, your experience, your knowledge, your hobbies, all of that, it allows you to then branch out. So let's say tennis. He knows a lot about rackets and balls, for example. Rackets, balls, everything to do with tennis. Swimming, he knows about goggles and caps, right? He's a competitive swimmer. Gym, he's a gym bro. Instantly, instead of going AliExpress and looking at the 200 million products on AliExpress, he allows, using his edge, it allows him to narrow down what to look at, right? Because the swimming niche, the tennis niche, and the gym niche, they're all fitness. They're all quite large. Obviously, you're going to have hobbies potentially that are very niche. Those are going to be very hard to enter into. However, tennis, gym, and swimming, right? He can easily find products that make a swimmer's life easier. He can find tennis products that make a tennis player's life easier. Or a gym bro that instantly gives him 3 potential edges to focus on. If we go back to drawing our star, swim, gym, tennis. All he has to do is find a product that exists in this triangle that is going to allow him to push the benefits or solve a problem, and then boom, he can build a product, a website, an ad all around solving an issue that falls in one of those triangles. It's pretty easy. Once you break down the unique attributes about yourself, you can easily find your edge. Because at the end of the day, if we look at some of the biggest ecom bros out there, okay, the guys that are doing 7 to 8 figures a year in ecom, the absolute goats, okay, they have multiple sharp edges and then they have multiple fragile edges. At a certain point, your fragile edges can become sharp edges. If you're pulling in 7 to 8 figures a year in ecom, time, money, and resources are now very sharp edges. Because if you find a product, you can move so much faster and burn so much more capital testing the product and figuring out the perfect angle than someone who has limited funds and limited resources. Okay? So, as I said, 7 to 8 figure owners, they stack their edges. Say they go gym, tennis, swimming. Their blunt, fragile edges are money, time, and resources. That's 6 edges they've got so far. As you develop your team and you bring in new people or contractors, or your circle expands, you learn more and more and you can develop even more edges. Because as you grow, you can literally stack as many edges as possible. And edges are in every aspect of the business, okay? Like if we talk about fulfillment, 3PLs, private branding, all of that, your social media, all of these are edges. So at the end of the day, these big ecom bros, they don't have small edges. They have so many edges, it's basically a circle. And why is it essentially a circle? Because it becomes impenetrable. You cannot keep up with them. You cannot even try to keep up with them. Because every single edge is so refined and so sharp and so cohesive with the rest of the edges that it's practically impossible. So the key takeaway from this video, don't look at the big ecom bros. Don't look at all these big brands because, as I said, they're circle, their edges are cohesive. Literally map out 3 edges to you as a person, whether that be your hobbies, passions, sports, your knowledge, your expertise, all of it. Try to essentially write down how you differentiate yourself from someone your age and your skill set. Because if we go back to the whole ecom bro A, right, and ecom bro B, they're practically the exact same when it comes to their knowledge and experience in the ecom space. Because remember, you're just starting. So what you really, really need to do is figure out how to beat the guy who's also just starting, because there are levels. There is big levels to this, right? And I would say it works as an inverse pyramid as we've got here. This is you right now. As you grow, your level increases and you stack those edges, and your moat, your defense system to other competitors is a lot larger because they just can't keep up. But at the very start, you're fundamentally the exact same as Ecom Bro and A and Ecom Bro B. So really developing unique USPs or edges that you can think of about yourself and you can manipulate, you'll have such a higher opportunity of success. And at the end of the day, the Ecom Bro is genuinely a dog-eat-dog world. You are competing. So it's important to remember that. While you're selling to a different customer, you're still competing with a guy who can easily add your product straight away. So that's why it's important to develop multiple edges to your whole equation. So, as I said, key takeaway. Write down what separates you from another guy who's exactly in your same position in the ecom journey. Write out your hobbies, the knowledge, your passions, if you play sport, anything that you're uniquely interested in or very knowledgeable about. And this might take time. Like, as I said, when I was looking at those two edges that I combined to create my master product that's making me 50 to 60K. Now, I never really thought about these edges. It's only when I was scrolling through AliExpress that those edges popped up and I was like, I know a bit about this type of product. I can sell this product. I know what the customer who wants to buy this product is going to want to know before they actually check out and they make that commitment to buying from your website. So these edges aren't going to always, you're not going to be able to write down every edge. I would not have been able to write down this edge that's given me this such growth in one product, and now I've horizontally scaled into various other versions of that product. So it's not going to come out straight away, but you can easily push your direction in the right way by looking at your hobbies, knowledge, passion, and sports, because all of those will fine tune those 200 million products that are on AliExpress. You can't sell a product you don't know a lot about. I personally could not sell anything about tennis because I don't know about tennis. But there are tennis customers out there, there are tennis products, and there are people who know tennis. If you marry those three together, you have such a stronger competitive edge than everyone else. So, as I said, figure out your edge, look for products in that edge, and it will give you such a higher chance of converting customers. As you grow, you develop more edges and you learn more. And when you're looking through products, those edges might not be apparent, but you might just have a good gut feeling. That is the edge. That product I found was a gut feeling. So all you got to do is follow the feeling. So if you have any questions about developing an edge, leave a comment in this video and I can talk through it with you. It seems complicated, but it's really not. As you grow, you just add more edges on. And the whole goal at the end of the day is to become a cohesive circle, that you can't see a unique edge that someone can manipulate or recreate. It's just a circle. It's impenetrable. You've got a moat around your business that is so strong that other people can't come and get it because you've got so many edges. You're competing on so many fronts and you're the best in so many areas that it's impossible to catch up. That is the end goal. That is how you make a 7 to 8 figure business. So thank you for watching this video. As I said, if you've got a question, leave a comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.